Hello, everybody. Eric here with the weekly wrap up for April 6th through April 12th. Yes, I've already looked at the calendar. I don't need to look over there. I know the dates I'm talking about. Hopefully, I said the right month. No, April 6th through April 12th. Uh, on the channel on Monday. You know what? I need to double check this part, though. I believe I know what I'm talking about, but I just want to double check. Okay, on Monday I posted a review for Boys in the Valley by Philip Fracassi. Check out that review. And on Friday, England's Screaming by Sean Hogan is the book I reviewed. Please check out that one. Highly recommend checking out that one. It's very entertaining. So those are the two reviews that I posted. Had a reading remembrances. Skipped 1 week because I was sick, but it returned last week, talking about the books I read in June of 2006. And that's it, except weekly wrap up, of course, every Sunday. Nothing else. One of these days I might do something different, throw something special in there. But that day has not come. As far as reading goes, I believe I have not mentioned these. It's been weird. I've had problems choosing what to read. I may have mentioned this one because I received a book. The author didn't send it to me. I bought a book by J.H. Moncrief that ties into some of her other books. So I went back to read the one of those tie-in books that I haven't read yet, which is Shadow of the Sasquatch, J.H. Moncrief, part of a series, and I'll be recording the review for this shortly. I followed that up with a book that I did just receive, and that's The Bug Collector by Wrath James White. Fantastic cover. Also, we'll be recording that review shortly. And then, again, couldn't decide what to read. Was having a lot of headaches this past week, and so I decided to just go with Cluster by Renee Miller. You can see my bookmark sticking up. Have not finished it yet. Just a little bit left to go. Another great cover. Really dig that. So, won't be recording a review for this shortly because I haven't finished reading it yet. But I'm a big fan of Renee Miller. I have more of her stuff than I thought. But also, there's a few I don't have yet. Anyway, that's what I am currently reading. Now, let's see. What order should I do? Well, I know what order I need to do this in. Another little book haul. I mentioned last week that I was expecting quite a few books, and I actually added on to all of that. So this is my stack of books that I received since the last time I recorded one of these videos. Let's take a look. And first of all, we have White Line Fever by K.C. Jones. And this is a Tor Nightfire, which is why I picked it up. I don't know anything about K.C. Jones, but I get most of the Nightfire stuff. And this one sounds pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to it. Which is a silly thing to say. Of course, I'm looking forward to all of these. I will say, Tor Nightfire, I'm falling behind on picking up the new Tor Nightfire books because I used to go to, it was tornightfire.com or just nightfire.com. I think it was tornightfire.com. And they would have all of the books they've released and upcoming books with the release dates. And that does not seem to be up to date. Has not been for the past 3 or 4 or 5 books that have come out. So I do not have, at the moment, a good resource to keep track of what Tor Nightfire books are coming out. I can go on Amazon and hit sort by newest releases, but not only is that project way into the future, which throws me off, but it also will include like the paperback releases of things that I already have in hardback. And that throws me off because I got to double check. I mean, some of them I know absolutely I have, but some of them I'm not 100% sure of. So I have to double check that, and Amazon isn't necessarily 100% reliable. because I saw a book at Barnes & Noble that was a Tor Nightfire that I thought I might have, but I don't seem to. But I did not see it on Amazon. So again, I have to figure this out. If anybody has a nice resource that will tell me what everything Tor Nightfire has released and their upcoming books, please let me know. But anyway, that was that. Let's move on. This book, I ordered this because it's mentioned in, or it's part of, England's Screaming by Sean Hogan, which is, for those who didn't watch my review and aren't familiar with the book, it's a book that connects dozens and dozens and dozens of British horror movies. The characters connects, this character from this movie, according to England Screaming, has a connection to this character from this movie. And the storylines actually cross if you read between the lines in the movies. Anyway, this was mentioned. This cover is not the one that was showing on Amazon. But that's okay. I dig this cover as well. I do like the other cover better. But this is Full Circle by Peter Straub. That's a decent enough cover. I did not know until reading the back cover copy here, where it says originally published in hardcover as Julia. Julia is a book I'm familiar with from Peter Straub. I'd never heard of Full Circle before. I might have a copy of Julia. I plan on one of these days, maybe next Friday, because we have the day off. It's a paid holiday, even though I'll be 2 days short of getting paid for it. But I want to go through all of the book stacks, the book carts and everything, and reorganize all of my books, because I have, like, Stephen King is in a bunch of different spots. My Peter Straub is in different spots. I want to, at the very least, consolidate authors. So I'll find out eventually if I have Julia or not. And if I do, that's fine. But anyway, Full Circle by Peter Straub. Then we have a book that I was talking about a little bit, I think, last week, because it was late. I wasn't sure if I was ever going to get it, but I obviously did, because here it is. I don't know how I missed this when it came out, because I try to keep up with the Aconite Arkham Horror books. This is Arkham Horror, The Ravening Deep by Tim Pratt, and according to this, it has a copyright of 2023. First published by Aconite Books in 2023. This edition published by Aconite Books in 2025. I don't know how I missed it in 2023. And I don't know how many times I checked, looked for things that might have slipped through the cracks to see if I'd had it. The cover looks very familiar. And I know I have some Tim Pratt books, I believe, in the Arkham Horror series, but apparently I didn't have it. But I want all these Arkham Horror books. I love this stuff. Then we have Terror, Horror, Agony by Judith Sonnet. This is a short story collection with a beautiful Betty Rocksteady cover. I absolutely love that cover. I have to get some original Betty Rocksteady art at some point. But a short story collection that is, I believe it's all quiet horror. Judith Sonnet, best known as an extreme or splatterpunk horror author, but she's evolving. She's changing. Her tastes change. Her taste in writing has changed, and so, but she's a fantastic writer. Wonderful character work. So I'm looking forward to this one and reading. I don't think I've read novelettes, maybe would be the size, and definitely novellas and things, but it'll be fun to read some of her short stories. I'm going to set that over here for the moment. Next up, another one I kind of mentioned last week. This is Arkham Horror, The Forbidden Visions of Lucius Galloway by Carrie Harris. Great writer, Carrie Harris. This is part of the Drowned City series, trilogy. I'm not sure what it's going to be. It's the first book. I had the last book. I showed off the last book last week, which is why I mentioned this one. Ordered them at the same time. Don't know why one came before the other one. But again, more Arkham Horror from Aconite. I finally finished Fantasy Flight. It makes the Arkham Horror game tons and tons of Lovecraft-based games. I finally finished all of their novels that they had, and I need to start digging into the Aconite books. And they have Arkham Horror, Call of Cthulhu now, Cthulhu by Gaslight or whatever it's called. They've got at least one book in that. They've published a gaming book where you play as you read. So tons and tons of Arkham stuff from Aconite books. All right, then we have The Home by Judith Sonnet. This has been on my wish list for, well, since before it came out. But, you know, not working for 5 months and then catching up on things financially. Once I did start working, I'm finally, obviously, able to start buying books, going a little overboard because I'm an addict. But this is a novel from Madness Heart Press, Judith Sonnet. I don't know if this falls into the quiet horror, if this is her first quiet horror novel, but it sounds very interesting, a haunted house kind of thing. I dig that cover as well. I'm missing a few of Judith's recent stuff, a lot of her older stuff, the stuff that was out before I started reading her things. I got to pick all that up, but there's still a couple of her more recent books that I haven't picked up yet, and I need to do that. Judith Sonnet is fantastic. And then a couple of books that just arrived today. I think I've talked about the Rewind or Die series and how, from Unnerving Press, I believe it is, and how I missed out on the last 4, I think, 3 or 4 or 5, and they've all gone out of print, and so I'm not able to get those. So I do not have a complete set of the Rewind or Die books, and so just to be on the safe side, I decided to grab a couple books from a different series. Hopefully that will not go out of print. But what we have here is Mayhem Sam by J.D. Graves. This is from Death's Head Press, and it is part of their Splatter Western series. This is, I don't know if they're calling it Season 2 or what. They're no longer numbered. They have a different cover artist. J.T. Coons was doing the art for Season 1. And this beautiful artwork is Mike Florentino Jr. Nope. That's illustration. Cover, Luke Spooner. There we go, Luke Spooner. I really, really dig that artwork. And they've changed the color a little bit of how the books look, although not enough. They still fit nicely within the Splatter Western series. If you're looking at the spines, just slightly different, no numbering. Mayhem Sam. This one sounds really fantastic. And then Sing Me a Death Song by Robert Essig, another Splatter Western, Death's Head Press. And yeah, it does say it at the bottom, a Splatter Western. And again, not numbered. And slightly thinner than this one. None of them as crazy as, is it Wiley Young? Or, no, Christopher Triana's, I think, are the ones that are huge honking. He has a couple of them, and they're the biggest too. But again, this should be, let's double check. Yep, Luke Spooner. I believe he's done all the covers in Season 2, as at least I'm calling it. But another great artist. And yeah, so that's it. That's all that I picked up book-wise. Another nice haul of all sorts of different stuff. So, now, I'm going to announce my next book bundle. For those who have never watched before, Book bundles are when I pick 5 books that are connected in some way and just read those 5 books in a row. So I've done books that were made into movies, novelizations of movies. I just did books that are all number 2s, so like Psycho 2, Amityville Horror 2, etc. And I know there's more, and I can't remember exactly what they were. I'd have to check. But what I am doing now is going to be short story collections. 5 short story collections. Now, just in case there's anybody who doesn't know, you have anthologies, which is a collection of short stories, all by different authors. And then a short story collection, I don't know if there's another name for it, is short stories all by a single author. And I'm going to cheat. I'm going to cheat twice here. So I'm going to show you the 5 books that I have chosen. And so you can read along if you like, although this isn't necessarily the order they're going to be in. Except for the first one, definitely. This is a bit of a cheat because I've fallen behind on my paperbacks from hell. So the first book in this bundle is A Nest of Nightmares by Lisa Tuttle, one of the paperbacks from hell. So I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone, no pun intended. No pun intended. So this is a short story collection from Lisa Tuttle, and I can do this as both part of the Paperbacks from Hell series and the first book in my book bundle. And then, well, not necessarily and then. Again, I don't know what order I'm going to read these in, although I might make this the second one because it's new, and the earlier I read it, the earlier I get the review out, and that's, oh, look at that, it's Terror, Horror, Agony by Judith Sonnet, which is the main reason I chose to do this book bundle now, because I knew I wanted to do short story collections. I wanted to read this very soon, so I might as well throw it in with this whole bundle. That's why eagle-eyed viewers saw me set it over there. That's because it was with the rest of these books. But very much looking forward to this. I've never read so many short stories all together, so this is going to be interesting. Usually I'll read an anthology or a short story collection and then go back to reading novels for a while, or novellas, whatever. So reading 5 short story collections in a row, going to be interesting. Here's another cheat for a number of reasons. One, I'm rereading this book. I've read it before, but it's time for a reread. This book is from, looks like that says 1989. Tiny, tiny print. So a bit of a cheat because I'm rereading it, but I haven't read it since 89 or 90. And the other reason it's a cheat is because it is a short story collection masked as a novel. And this is, oh, and it's 2 authors. And I know I said a short story collection is all short stories by a single author, but these 2 authors at the time always wrote together. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 novels that they wrote together. They edited 2 zombie anthologies together, and they wrote short stories together. So this is Deadlines by John Skip and Craig Spector. When I got this, I did not know that it was actually a short story collection. Basically this, if I remember correctly, this young woman moves into an apartment that had previously been owned by an author who killed himself. And she finds his short stories. So it's a haunted house or haunted apartment novel, but within the book, she's reading the short stories that this guy wrote, and we get to read those stories, and they are the short stories of John Skip and Craig Spector. I realized that when I read one of the stories and realized I had read it before. Um, this is another instance of me having read somebody and not realizing it. They had short stories in the Twilight Zone magazine, which I read. I had a subscription. I read it all the time. And it wasn't until I read this, which was the fourth book that I read from them, that I realized I'd read some of these short stories before. So this is part of that book bundle of short story collections. A little bit of a cheat. I don't know if the rereading part is necessarily a cheat, but it's actually a not just bookended, short stories bookended by a story, because it's the main story runs throughout the entire thing. It's just every time the character takes a break and decides to read one of this dead author's short stories, we're reading a John Skip and Craig Spector short story, if that makes any sense. I remember loving this. We'll see how I feel after I read it again. Next up, Abnormal Statistics by Max Booth III. Huge fan of Max Booth. This looks like Apocalypse Party. Is that what the name of the Apocalypse Party looks like, the publisher. And huge fan of Max Booth III. Love his writing. Would love to visit his bookstore in Texas. I continually tell him that I'm the Annie Wilkes to his Paul Sheldon, and someday I'm going to kidnap him and break his ankles. But I've read shorter works, novellas, novels, and once again, it'll be interesting to read what he does with short stories. So, Abnormal Statistics by Max Booth III. And then finally, I was looking, I know I have a short story collection from another author, but I just don't know where it is. And I did not, I know it's somewhere over there. I did not feel like digging through all of these books that I have over there to find it. So I went with someone else, an author that I absolutely love. I did recently read one of their novels, relatively recently, but I've had this short story collection since it came out. I try to grab this author's stuff as soon as it comes out. This is The Secret Goatman Spook Show and Other Psychological Warfare Operations by Jonathan Rabb, or Rob, however you say his name. And this is from some publisher. Turn to Ash. Columbus, Ohio. Hey, that's in my state. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one, short story collection. I have read the very first story in here, Hunting Them Hills with Joel and Big Howie, is actually the first thing I ever read by Jonathan Rabb. It's in not Ghoulish magazine, Dark Moon Digest, the magazine by Max Booth and Laurie Michel that ended and sort of became Ghoulish by Max Booth and Laurie Michel, Ghoulish Publications. But I actually heard Jonathan Rabb on Max Booth's podcast, the Ghoulish podcast, and they talked about this story, and I happened to have the issue that it was in, or maybe ordered the issue knowing that it was in there. Anyway, I got to read the story, and I feel like, I don't know, I read over the table of contents, and that's the only title that seems familiar, but I believe I've read some other short stories by him, and so there may be something else I've read, but most of this I haven't. There's a story here called To Oppose Evil is to Live, a brief oral history of Behold the Undead of Dracula, the video game. And Behold the Undead of Dracula is an anthology, I believe, edited by Jonathan Rabb. So I like how he ties these things together. And it has an anti-introduction, or a couple anti-introductions. It does seem to be plural. But once again, very much looking forward to this, and I love that cover. I'll read anything Jonathan Rabb does. I'm a big fan. So that's the next book bundle. I'm going to finish Cluster, and then, depending on my mood, at the moment I finish that book, I'll either jump in with the Lisa Tuttle. I may read something else before I jump in, but it will be very, very soon that I start this 5 short story collections from 6 authors. But there you go. If you want to read along, those are the 5 books that I'm going to be doing very, very soon. I can absolutely recommend Deadlines, since I've already read it. And I could probably absolutely recommend The Secret Goat Man Spook Show, simply because everything I've read by Jonathan Rabb has been fantastic. And I just have faith that his short story collection will be as well. Same with Max Booth. Same with Judith Sonnet. The only one I really can't speak to is the Lisa Tuttle, A Nest of Nightmares. But, I have faith that this is all going to be good. Definitely the first one I'm going to read. I think this is going to be the order that I showed them, because I definitely want to read this one next. Again, for the reasons I said, it's new and I want to get the review out. And then I think this makes a good third book to break up the new stuff, give me a reread. Plus, it's got that novel format. And then might as well do the Max Booth and then the Goat Man. So feel free to read along. All right, and I think that's it. I played a little Switch this weekend. Played some Tomb Raider. Got a little further along. Last weekend when I played it, I kept dying because my swimming skills sucked, and I would drown. You had to go down, swim around, find a switch, pull that switch, swim around again, find a key, grab the key. You're still swimming this whole time, and then get all the way back up this long, long thing. And my swimming was terrible. I wasn't even finding the switch before I would drown. Then I got to the point where I would find the switch, but then I wouldn't get the key before I would drown. And then, this is just repetition over and over and over again. Then I'd get to the switch, then I'd get to the key, then I'd start heading up this long thing, and I could see the light. And at one time I drowned so close, like 2 more strokes and I would have broken the surface. And it didn't help that I didn't have hardly any life, because once your oxygen runs out, then your life starts to run out. And I didn't have life to spare. But I eventually made it past that, going through all sorts of stuff. But now I'm at another point where speed is of essence. Unless I'm missing something, speed is of essence, and my control of how Lara Croft runs isn't good enough. And so you have to step on this thing that opens these gates, and you have to run through one of them, pull a lever, run back out, run through a second one, and get through the gate that pulling the lever had opened. But if you don't do it fast enough, all the gates are going to close. I've only made it through the second gate once. I got hit by it, but I ended up on the proper side. But then the other gate closed. So then you have to step on this thing. It opens the gates. They rise up, go back out. And hopefully you're going to if you have enough time, you got to run back, hit that lever, run back, get through. And I'm just not skilled enough. My running isn't smooth enough. I tend to run into walls and things. I'm not good at turning. If I'm running straight, I'm fine. It's turning smoothly. So, yeah, I'm having difficulty getting through that gate. But anyway, I played that. I played some Skyrim. I've gotten some armor and some better weapons. I've leveled up on a couple of things, but I need to slow down. I think that's my biggest thing. I don't know why. When I first played it, I wasn't rushing at all, but I see when I started playing it on the Switch, I realized I'm just rushing. I'm running to this place, and this person says do this, and then I would just run to that thing and try to do that. And I've slowed down now, and I'm just exploring. I know, the map tells me where I need to go, and I don't know that any of this is time sensitive. I don't recall that it is. I don't need to. The Jarl told me to go do something. I don't need. I don't know that I need to do it immediately. I have a little time to run around, find things, level up. But that's always fun. That's about it. Haven't really watched anything. Been working. Work's been weird because of the bottleneck I've mentioned before. I believe I've mentioned it before. So this week there was a lot of doing jobs that aren't my job. Basically putting these kits together. I did discover a mistake that someone had made, which kind of sucks, and I don't think it was their fault. It's a good thing it was caught. It just sucks that somebody has to go back now and fix this mistake, which is going to take a lot of time. And it basically has to do with labels, or these little cards with part numbers on them. And they're inside. We have this plastic bag, and a whole bunch of pieces need to be put in this plastic bag with this card or label, whatever you want to call it, that has part numbers and stuff on it. And then it's sealed, and that's going to get shipped to somebody, to the customer. There's 2 different kits that are very, very similar, only slight differences. A couple of different parts that are going in the bag, and the little cards or labels with the part numbers and stuff are different because they are 2 different kits. And we were making these kits, and there's this big giant bin called, I forget, a collapsible bin, that the previous week, we were making these kits, and I was just dumping them into this bin, keeping track of how many, but just dumping them into this bin so the people that put them in the boxes can just grab them out of this bin. So on Friday, I went to dump them into this bin that was in a different location, but it looked exactly the same. But I happened to notice before I dumped any, thank goodness, I noticed something different in the kits that were in the bin. And so I took a look at it, and there were 2 things that were different, but it had the same label. So then I went to the guy who was actually going to be shipping these kits, and he said, well, there's 2 that are very similar. One has this number, one has this number. I said, all the ones I'm doing have this number. I said, but the other bin has some with the same number. I went back to the other bin, and it actually had both numbers. Some of the kits had one number, some of the kits had the other number. So basically, the young woman who was putting together the kits, the other kits, not the ones that I was doing, was given the wrong cards/labels. And so I don't know how many she did, but she was putting the wrong label in these kits and tossing them into this bin, which already had a bunch with the correct label. So somebody has to go through that entire bin, pull out all of the ones with the wrong label, open them up, which I assume is going to... I don't think they'll be able to salvage the little baggy things that they go in. They're heat sealed. So they'll have to cut them open to take the card out, they'll have to take everything out, put it in a brand new baggie, whatever they're called, sleeve, and reseal them. But they can't just... they have to go through all of it because they're mixed together. Anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about this. This is an incredibly long video, much longer than I expected. But that's how work has been going. Um, uh, yeah, that's it. Had headaches this week, feeling out of sorts this week, um, and that's about it. I really don't have a question for this video. The usual, when I have a little book haul, do any of these books catch your eye? Are you interested in reading along? Any of these book bundle books catch your eye? Let me know what you're reading, what you're looking forward to, all of that, down in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. If you care to follow me on other social media, I'll have links for my Instagram and Bluesky in the description below. And that's all I have for this week. So until next week, read more books.